Good evening, and welcome to the East of England Co-op Annual Members Meeting, which, due to the continuing COVID-19 restrictions, is being held virtually on the internet for the second year in a row. Again, due to the pandemic, our last such meeting was held only 6 months ago. I'm delighted that we have now been able to revert to our usual timing. It is wonderful that nearly 200 people have registered to take part. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. With the prospect of a return to normality getting nearer, I hope all of you and your families have weathered well the challenges of the last 14 months. I am joined at Wherstead Park this evening by 3 other directors, namely the Society's Vice President, Belinda Bulsing, the Chair of the Audit and Risk Committee, Richard Youngs, and the Chair of the Remuneration and Search Committee, Bev Perkins. Also here are the Society's Joint Chief Executives, Roger Grosvenor, Doug Field, Nick Denny, and Neil O'Keefe, and its Secretary, Jonathan Carey. We are all socially distanced, with the Society's other directors attending online. When Joint Chief Executive Doug Field and Lindsay Goodwin, our Head of Finance, present the Society's financial results, we will also be joined remotely by Anup Sodhi, the audit partner from the Society's external auditor, EY. As you all know, the past year has been unlike any other. I am very proud of how all our colleagues have embraced and adapted to the challenges that COVID-19 and Brexit have thrown at them. Something that has been particularly striking for me is that no matter how tough this pandemic has been, you can walk into any East of England Co-op branch and be greeted by smiling, friendly, and helpful colleagues. In recognition of their dedication and resilience, the board and I were delighted to award our colleagues an additional week's pay in April 2020 and store vouchers over the 2020 Christmas and New Year and 2021 Easter periods. The discount for colleagues was also raised. The staff discount was also raised from 10% to 20%, and this will remain in place throughout 2021. The pandemic also created a variety of operational and trading challenges that raised costs in our businesses. We have done our best to ensure that all clinically extremely vulnerable colleagues and those furloughed due to government restrictions have been supported. Indeed, the safety and well-being of our colleagues, members and customers has been our priority throughout the pandemic. I would like to thank our members and customers for embracing the social distancing and other safety measures we put in place, and for the overwhelming number of letters and messages of thanks we have received, recognizing the continued service and dedication of colleagues across our family of businesses. During the evening, we will be sharing a film featuring Joint Chief Executives Roger Grosvenor and Nick Denny, who will report on the challenges faced by the Society's retail and property businesses and what they have achieved. The Society's board is delighted to recommend that the total dividend for this year is maintained at 1.5% of qualifying sales, or £1.8 million in total. We will come to this later in the meeting. Supporting our communities is part of our DNA as a cooperative, and will remain at the heart of our objectives and priorities for the year ahead. We will end this evening with a film from our Joint Chief Executive Neil O'Keefe, showcasing some of the groups and charities we have been able to support through the East of England Co-op Community Cares Fund and other means during 2020 and highlighting the valuable work that has been achieved thanks to your generosity. Strong governance is vital to the success of our co-op. Ahead of the announcement of the election results, I would like to thank Chris Newbury, who will be retiring at the end of this annual members' meeting, having served a maximum of 3 terms as a director, 12 years in total. Also, as you may be aware, in November 2020, Sally Chicken retired as president, although she remains a director. For her unfaltering dedication to the Society during her time in office, and in particular, putting it on a firm footing during the early months of the COVID pandemic, both I and the board wish to express our gratitude. The Society's Secretary, Jonathan Carey, will now take you through a few virtual housekeeping measures, including how to submit questions and vote during the evening. Jonathan, over to you.
Thank you, Frank. So what I'd like to do is just take you through 2 key points of how you can participate in this evening's meeting. Firstly, questions. On the right-hand side of your screen, you should see a text box where you can submit your question. We'll collate those during the evening and we'll try and get through as many as we can later on the agenda. Of course, time may not permit us to get through all of the questions, so what we will do is those we don't get across we'll collate into themes, and then we'll produce a Q&A document which will be on the website for you to view within the next few days. If you see a question that you like, please click the thumbs up icon and it will raise the question and let us know that that's one that the members would like us to respond to. Secondly, there will be a series of motions this evening which we'd like eligible members to vote on. When the motions are put to the meeting, the wording will appear on your screen if you're eligible to vote, and you'll be given 3 options. You can vote for, against and abstain. Each of the votes will be open for 60 seconds, following which you'll come back to see myself or the President and we'll be able to let you know how the meeting has voted. But what I'd like to do is just to make sure the gremlins haven't arrived this evening and just do a quick test poll with you. So shortly on your screen you should see a question appear which will ask you if your favourite animal is a cat. If you can answer for, against or abstain, we'll come back in 60 seconds and let you know the outcome. Thank you very much. It looks to me like everything's worked okay, and something you didn't know before this meeting started is the majority of members taking part this evening have actually selected that their favourite pet is a cat. So we didn't know that before 6 o'clock. So that's all from me. I hope you enjoy the evening, and I'll now pass you back over to your President, Frank.
Thank you, Jonathan. I would now like to introduce a video presented by our Joint Chief Executives, Roger Grosvenor and Nick Denny, where they'll be giving a business update covering both the retail and property divisions of the organisation.
Throughout the pandemic, our customers have relied on us to keep our stores stocked and open and care for their loved ones with consideration and care in very difficult circumstances. This would not have been possible without the incredible work of our frontline colleagues. They've worked tirelessly under extremely challenging circumstances to provide a safe and caring environment. We're incredibly proud of them and thank them for their hard work and dedication. As a cooperative, we've always tried to be innovative and lead the way. Over the past year, we've really embraced that and have introduced a number of new initiatives and different ways of working to continue to make it easier, quicker and safer for our customers to access their services. During the coronavirus pandemic, more people have wanted to shop from the comfort and safety of their home, so have wanted to make sure we could offer this option to our customers. In December 2020, we teamed up with Snappy Shopper to enable customers to have items delivered to their homes in as little as 60 minutes or arrange a click and collect service from their nearest store. We set ourselves an initial target of 20,000 deliveries and we beat that on the 12th of February, so it's proving really popular, particularly amongst new shoppers. We're really proud to be able to offer this home delivery service to our customers, making shopping with us even quicker and simpler for many people. Using the app or ordering online, customers can order a wide range of items to be delivered direct to their home, and with our Source Locally initiative, it means that lots of this product will be from our local suppliers across Norfolk, Suffolk and Essex. We know that many of our customers love the community feel of shopping in their local store. And what's really nice about this service is that when customers place their order from the app, a member of the team from their local store will be personally taking that order and pick it out all the items for them. We've also thought about shopping in our stores and introduced self-service checkouts. We know that many customers are still getting used to them, but they can be used for speedy purchases. As we have introduced the option of self-service checkouts, our attended checkouts, run by our fantastic, friendly colleagues, remain at the forefront of our shopping experience. The pandemic has seen our members and customers get behind our Sourced Locally partners with even more gusto, whether it's ingredients for an evening meal, baking supplies or treats, or bringing comfort at home during a difficult period. Our local food and drink has truly been appreciated over the past few months. Our members and customers value traceability, sustainability and quality, and I believe this strong demand for regional produce will continue. Here's Fergus Howe from Wicks Manor to tell you how they've been getting on.
Since we became a Source Local partner in 2010, the East of England has become one of our biggest supporters. Throughout the pandemic, we have worked hard in collaboration with the East of England to increase our production to meet demand. It's been busy, but it's been very satisfying to know products are being enjoyed by people in our communities during this challenging time.
Our colleagues in funeral have really taken our clients to their heart, as they have not been able to have everyone at the funeral that they wanted. The passion and enthusiasm that they have shown in delivering excellent service to our clients and family, despite the many restrictions and regulations we have faced, has been inspirational. In October, we introduced a new management team to run our funeral businesses. Over the years, we have seen growth in simple funeral services with no ceremony and people looking to access information online. People also seem more open to talking about funerals and planning ahead to ensure that they have the service they wish and to protect their family from future financial burden. The team have been tasked with looking at how we can continue to evolve our funeral services that meets the changing customer needs whilst continuing to deliver a service that is valued in our communities and celebrating our proud heritage and values. In line with the government guidance, our kitchen and memorial showrooms were closed. However, our Perfect's kitchen team were looking ahead by taking delivery of a brand new stone edge polishing machine, which will help the team polish and shape the edges of worktops, significantly reducing the time it would take to do this manually. We stand behind our travel business and will continue to do so. Our travel colleagues have had a really tough year. We pride ourselves in giving all clients options to have a refund, rebook, or a credit note. We have seen a real demand from our customers to be able to travel as soon as they can, and we have around £6 million worth of forward bookings. I'll now hand over to Nick to tell us what his team have been up to over the last year.
Thanks, Roger. What a phenomenal amount is going on from you and your team. Our property team have been incredibly busy over the last year as well. They've been continuing to work closely with our commercial tenants throughout the region to support them through this challenging time, tailoring agreements to meet their individual circumstances. It's been a difficult few months for many of them. As a cooperative, we're committed to dealing with our tenants fairly, objectively and considerately. Fortunately, our residential tenants have been relatively unaffected. However, for those who were impacted, we've worked closely with them to find agreements to help keep them in their homes. We've also been keeping new developments and food store acquisition projects on track, ensuring we continue to do the right thing as a responsible business and have robust measures in place to keep us COVID secure. And I'm pleased to say on that we have had numerous inspections by local authorities, which have been excellent and with some very positive feedback. We've also used our profits to make a positive impact in the wider community during the past year, working with Orwell Housing Association to house a refugee family. Here's Wendy Evans-Hendrick, Chief Executive at Orwell Housing, to tell us more.
Well, for Orwell, it really means that we can make a difference and help the community. And for the family, it will provide them with one of the fundamental building blocks of life, a safe, secure and comfortable home.
In Colchester, we're looking to help improve the town centre and create jobs and homes through the redevelopment of our site at Longwire Street. We're pleased that we now have an anchor tenant in place for the development, national cafe, bar and restaurant operator Lounges. We've also been working closely with Colchester Borough Homes, and 2 of the 24 apartments will be let as affordable rents. Gareth Mitchell, Chief Executive at Colchester Borough Homes, explains why this is so important.
We perceive very similar values at the East of England Co-op, as are at the core of our mission as a social housing provider. And it's been a particular privilege, therefore, to be able to work together to enable the delivery of 2 apartments that will be let at affordable rent in the Longwire Street development. These are units for which there is a high demand in Colchester. We have over 3,000 applicants on our housing register waiting for good quality, secure and affordable housing. And so we're really sure that these units will be an important part of meeting community need in the challenging times that we find ourselves in. And it's been a real privilege to be able to work with the East of England Co-op to enable the delivery of those units of accommodation.
We're delighted that Colchester Borough Council have also got funding in place to regenerate the square adjacent Longwire Street, so it's going to be a great hub for the town. At Boss Hall in Ipswich, we've been working hard to secure permissions to develop our old dairy into business units. This has taken some time, but as you can see here, work has now started on site on this sizable project. We've also been progressing plans for new stores at Chesterwell in Colchester, Horsford in Norfolk and Needham Market, to name just a few. Chesterwell is a new development by Mersey Homes in North Colchester, comprising 1,400 new homes. The new 6,000 square foot store will join our family of premium format stores featuring our multi-award winning Sourced Locally range. We also have a new site in Needham Market, currently in development. The store, which will replace our current food store on King William Street, will form part of a new residential development on the site of the former council offices. In Horsford, we're looking to relocate from our current site to a new site on Holt Road. This will give us a bigger store and much better parking. The new location will form part of a new village retail centre. If given the go-ahead, it's hoped the centre will be complete in 2023. Over the past year, we've continued to make a number of small changes to the way we operate to reduce the impact on the environment. We've reduced our CO2 footprint by 25%, investing in our branches and equipment. This includes the retrofit of doors to nearly 90 fridges, increasing their efficiency, the refurbishment of 3 of our food stores, including energy efficient refrigeration, and the ongoing installation of LED lighting at Wherstead Park. This year, we were incredibly pleased to receive 8 Carbon Charter awards for our work to reduce emissions in our stores. We've also moved ahead with our plans to have a fully electric or hybrid fleet by 2025 and all commercial vehicles by 2030. All these measures comprise part of our environmental sustainability approach, and this, along with 5 other United Nations sustainability goals, form the basis of our first sustainability report that will be published this year. The well-being of our colleagues is really important. We want to do even more to support them and ensure they feel safe, well and happy at work. So we've teamed up with mental health charity Suffolk Mind. Using Suffolk Mind's expertise, this new partnership will identify areas of strength and opportunities for improvement. A key first will be to have a member of the Suffolk Mind team within our co-op. This collaboration will support colleagues throughout our business, not just in Suffolk. A primary focus will be how we can better support our line managers, ensuring they feel more confident, equipped and empowered to support the mental health of their teams.
Thanks, Nick. Looking ahead, like all of you, we are hopeful of returning to some sort of normality.
In the meantime, we will continue to work to ensure we can serve our communities in a safe and professional way.
Thank you, Roger and Nick, for that informative video. It's incredible to hear just how much has been achieved over the last year. Now, I'll hand over to Jonathan for the results of this year's directors' elections.
Thank you, Frank. So members will be aware that in February and March 2021, the Society sought nominations from eligible members to stand for election to our board. There were 4 vacancies available and 10 nominations were received. The Society appointed Civica to carry out the election on its behalf and is to act as independent scrutineer. And I can confirm that the election ballot took place during April into May and closed yesterday, the 12th of May at noon. I'm pleased to report that nearly 5,000 members took the time to vote in the election, either by online or by post. I'll now like to present the results of the election. As members will be able to see on the slide, Judy Newman, Esme Cole, John Cook and Joy Burnford have all been elected in this election. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome back Judy and John to the board for terms of 4 and 3 years respectively, and also to Joy and Esme for terms of 4 years, the first terms that they've served on the board. I'd also like to take this opportunity on behalf of the board and the executive team to thank Fiona Powell for her service on the board over the last 4 years, and also to extend that thanks to all candidates that took part in the selection. Full details will be available in Society food stores and on the website within the next week, and I'd now like to hand you back over to your President, Frank.
Thank you, Jonathan. We now move over to the first live vote this evening, relating to the approval of the minutes of the annual members' meeting held on the 4th of November 2020. You will have had access to these via the Society's website in the run-up to this evening. I'll now hand back to Jonathan to conduct the vote.
Thank you, Frank. So you should shortly see the poll screen appear for those eligible members, and you'll have 3 options to vote for, against or abstain to the accuracy of the minutes of the 4th of November 2020. Thank you very much. That appears to have worked okay, and I can confirm that the minutes have been approved as a correct record. So thank you for that. I'll now hand you back over to Frank.
I would now like to pass you over to our Joint Chief Executive, Doug Field, who together with Lindsay Goodwin, our Head of Finance, will provide an overview of the Society's performance for the year ended 23rd of January 2021.
Did you know that today, 13th of May, is Numeracy Day? which seems quite fitting given the part numbers play in my day-to-day work, and that our role in this slot is to see how we fared during the year covered by our annual report. And it's great to see so many of you here virtually. And the great thing about doing this virtually is that you can ask questions as we go through this and things trigger in your mind. So feel free to do just that. I'm joined here by Lindsay, our Head of Finance, to help explain what happened during 2020.
Hello.
As you'll see, whilst it's not been plain sailing, we've had a good year and managed to stay ahead of the curve. The positivity and adaptability of our colleagues and you, our members, has allowed us to tackle the challenges posed by COVID, rather than let COVID dictate what happens to us and our co-op. We are all incredibly grateful for your support during these challenging times. So Lindsay, what's the story of our finances this year?
Thanks, Doug. Well, it's certainly a story we didn't predict. When we prepared our budget in November 2019, we certainly didn't foresee a pandemic. And it's really strange to say it now, but no one had even heard of COVID-19 back then. In the next few minutes, I'll take you through the results of the 2021 financial year, comparing them with the results of the prior year. As you can see from these graphics, the turnover of our continuing businesses is up and our trading profits are up too. But these simple-looking graphs don't convey the ups and downs that the society and its people have experienced this year. So let's take a closer look. Let's start with turnover. In the financial year ended January 2020, the Society disposed of its pharmacy and optical businesses and also closed its distribution centre. In looking at our turnover for that year, we've removed anything relating to those businesses so that we're comparing like with like. And as you can see here, turnover from our continuing businesses increased from just over 335 million to just under 350 million, a change of £14.2 million. But to really understand the story of our financial year, we have to dig deeper. It's only when you look at the detail you can see there's an awful lot going on in here. So we need to look at each of our individual businesses. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to build up this graph, which will show the turnover difference between this year and last. Firstly, our food business. It turned over £27.5 million more than it did in 1920. As all of my colleagues working in and supporting our food business will know, we absolutely played our part in keeping the region fed, especially during the first lockdown this time last year. With the government urging us all to minimise travel, shopping locally was no longer a convenient thing to do. It was the socially responsible thing to do, and it's exactly what you did. To hold up our end of the bargain, every one of our food store colleagues has worked incredibly hard under some really tough conditions to make sure that you, our members and customers had access to essential supplies. Our co-op, always at the heart of local communities, had become a lifeline for many, and it's a responsibility we took seriously. As a result, the turnover of our food business grew by almost 10% this year. We've had to continually adapt to your changing needs in the last year or so, and the next two slides will show you just how dramatic those changes in shopping behaviour were. This graph shows you how many food transactions we processed each week of the financial year. The raspberry line is 1920, which was fairly stable, with just a single dip over the festive period as people took a break with their families. The green line is 2021, which shows some big swings. Here you can see the timing of the lockdown periods. The panic buying of early March 2020 increased the number of shopping transactions significantly. And then, with the news that we should stay at home on the 23rd of March 2020, people only ventured out for essential supplies, and the number of visits to our stores fell overnight. Over the summer months, as things began to open up, the number of transactions did increase compared to the lockdown period, but they didn't return to the levels we were previously used to seeing. But whilst you were visiting our stores less frequently, you were spending more with us when you did. This graph shows you the average transaction value, And again, whilst it was fairly stable during 1920, we saw a big increase during March 20, followed by a gradual decrease over the summer and another peak for the festive period. So although we have fewer transactions going through our tills, on average, each individual transaction was larger, so we ended the 2021 financial year with an increase in food sales of £27.5 million when compared to the year before. But food is only one part of our diverse family of trading businesses. Let's go back to this graph now and have a look at the effects of COVID-19 on our other businesses. As we've already seen, turnover from continuing activities increased by £14.2 million. As you'd expect, our travel business was hardest hit by the pandemic. Our colleagues working in this business have had an incredibly tough year and they've done an amazing job. We didn't take many new bookings during the 2021 financial year and we had to issue a lot of refunds to customers that could no longer go on holiday, which left the travel business with no turnover at all. That's almost £5.5 million behind last year's figure. Similarly, our forecourt business has seen a dramatic shift in customer demand. With the emphasis on staying at home, the need to fill up the car became less frequent, and as a result of reduced international demand, fuel prices dropped too. So the reduced volume, combined with a reduced sales price, saw the turnover in the forecourt business reduced by £6 million. What about our other businesses? Our funeral business has had a challenging year. The COVID restriction on gatherings mean that sadly, families have had to scale back their plans to come together in celebration of the lives of their loved ones. So whilst our funeral volumes have remained consistent year on year, and we've continued to support local families through the most difficult of times, the average price per funeral fell, and the funeral business saw a £1.3 million reduction in turnover. Our events business has also been challenged by the COVID restrictions on gatherings. Many weddings, parties and conferences have not been able to go ahead, and this left the events business with a £0.6 million reduction in turnover compared to last year. Our Subway franchises couldn't trade during periods of lockdown, and this resulted in further lost turnover of £0.9 million. However, our property business has continued to perform well, and our security business actually grew its top line by £1 million, mainly due to a big contract to deliver store guarding services. So overall, the increase in turnover of our food business has helped offset the reduction in turnover of our other businesses. Each of our income streams have seen a big impact as a result of the pandemic, and I know that each one of you will have experienced its effects in very different ways too. So we've seen how COVID has impacted our sales, but what about our profits? Our underlying trading profit grew from £4.5 million in 1920 to £7.2 million in 2021, a £2.7 million increase. But again, these headline figures don't really give any sense of the ups and downs that we saw in each of our businesses, which I'll show you in a moment. We've also incurred additional costs directly in relation to the pandemic. Our focus on keeping everyone in our stores safe and looking after our colleagues throughout this period of uncertainty resulted in additional expenditure after taking account of government support received of £0.8 million, and Doug will tell you more about this soon. Let's now have a look at how that £2.7 million increase in trading profits is comprised. This graph starts with last year's underlying trading profit of £4.5 million, and I'll break down the movements that have contributed to the £2.7 million increase we just saw. As you'd expect, due to its increased turnover, the food business delivered more profit this year than last. That, combined with the consistency and the profitability of our investment property portfolio, mean that we've been able to continue to support our other businesses that have suffered as a result of the restrictions that COVID has placed on our lives. We've already talked about funeral and travel, whose turnover and therefore profits have reduced this year. And here we can see those reductions offsetting the increase in our food business. We've also mentioned this COVID-specific expenditure, which we'll come back to shortly. Finally, we have this other category. Now, there's quite a lot going on in this one, but the largest components are an improvement in the results of our security business and some savings from pausing non-essential central activities during the worst of the crisis. So as you can see, the pandemic has had a polarising effect on our family of businesses, but its diversity has been a real strength over the last financial year. We know that all of our colleagues have worked tirelessly to deliver high operational standards in a challenging and volatile environment. They've adapted to the constantly changing situation brilliantly. And not only can we see that in the compliments and feedback that we've received from you, but we can also see it in our financial results. Now let's go back to the COVID expenditure that we incurred, and I'll hand over to Doug to explain more.
Thank you, Lindsay. So what does that 6.7 million of cost related to COVID cover? Colleague, member and customer safety and wellbeing is and will always be our top priority. We've invested over £1 million into measures to keep you, our members, our colleagues and our customers safe, including the installation of screens at all till points, providing gloves, hand sanitizer and face coverings for our colleagues. We've also guaranteed pay for sick, self-isolating and other affected colleagues. We've recognised our colleagues' incredible commitment and efforts with an additional week's pay, doubled our colleague discount available and provided vouchers in December. Our colleagues have worked tirelessly to make our stores and services safe and welcoming. We continue to follow government guidelines to minimise risk to you, our members, our colleagues and customers. We've been issuing regular communications to you, reminding you of the government guidance and the measures we have in place. We want to do as much as we can to help those who need it the most, and it's fair to say your incredible generosity has been put to good use with the Communities Cares Fund. And we've been assisted by government support via rates relief and the grants available to retail businesses, which is helping us cover the additional costs we're faced with. As an organisation providing essential services, it's evident to everyone just how much our colleagues have risen to meet the extraordinary challenges during this year. We will continue to do everything needed to support and improve the daily lives of you, our members, through the pandemic and beyond. As you've seen, whilst it's not been plain sailing, we've had a good year and managed to stay ahead of the curve. With your support and the efforts of our colleagues, we wouldn't be able to make the incredibly positive impact we've had on people's daily lives. So what about some of the unusual one-off items in this year? So we've increased our trading profits, yet our profit before distributions has fallen. It doesn't make sense, but let me explain. There are several items that have reduced our trading profits. With COVID accelerating the challenges faced by the High Street, our investment property portfolio decreased in value by nearly £9 million. To recognise the challenges faced by our funeral business, we reduced the value of some of its assets by £1 million. £4 million of income was generated from our prepaid funeral plan investments, up £3 million from last year, and this has helped offset some of the additional charges. And last year we also benefited from a profit of £1.6 million on the disposal of our pharmacy, optical and distributions operations. Members' funds fell by £15 million over the year, but that is nothing to be concerned about. Let me reassure you, we are in a strong position to tackle the challenges we face. The reduction in the value of our investment property portfolio, along with an increased pension deficit, has reduced our net assets by over £18 million. Our pension deficit increased to £47.5 million, an increase of over £9 million. And this reflects a decrease in corporate bond yields on which the discount rates for the scheme liabilities is based. Since our year end, rising bond and gilt yields have improved the funding position of many schemes, including ours, and our scheme actuary estimates that it might have improved our funding by over £10 million. Now, apologies for such a technical explanation. Pension schemes can be really complicated, and it is worth remembering that pension actuaries are people who skipped primary school when the rest of us were learning short words. So why aren't I worried about the fall in members' funds? We've had members' funds of over £200 million for the last 4 years. But this change this year, this £15 million fall, is nothing to be concerned about. The reduction in pension deficit and the reduction in the value of the investment properties aren't a cash loss, they're likely to be temporary falls. The market value of our trading profits will be substantially higher than the £85 million in our accounts. We hold over £66 million of prepaid funerals, which is more than 3 years of our funeral business's annual turnover. You've seen we're a profitable business with a strong and robust balance sheet. So, to summarise our results.
Thanks to increased sales in our food business, turnover on continuing activities is up 4% on last year, although as you've seen, it's a mixed picture across our family of businesses. Thanks to your support and the hard work and adaptability of our colleagues, we've had a good year and weathered the storm, generating over £7 million in trading profits.
We're in a strong position to tackle the challenges we face. We have a robust balance sheet and continue to generate good levels of cash. As you've seen, whilst it's not been plain sailing, we've had a good year and managed to stay ahead of the curve. We are all incredibly grateful for your support during these challenging times. Thanks for your help explaining the results, Lindsay.
Thank you.
Today might be numeracy day, but people come before money. None of the results we've achieved would have been possible without the hard work, dedication and commitment of our colleagues. They have been tested in ways we could have never imagined. As an organisation providing essential services, they have stepped up to meet extraordinary challenges, and we'll continue to do everything needed to support them. Like many others, we've been learning to do things differently. It's been a tough 12 months, but what's kept me going is the unshakable dedication and commitment of our colleagues. They have been extraordinary. But what does the future hold? Our priority is to ensure the safety and well-being of our colleagues, members and customers. We continue to work hard to stay ahead of the curve and keep our business thriving. Things will never be the same again, and 2021 is likely to be much more challenging than 2020. We expect to see profits fall to the levels of 1920 in the coming year. But with assets in excess of £250 million, our asset base is strong and we have a robust balance sheet and the resources we need to tackle the challenges ahead. The positivity and adaptability of our colleagues and you, our members, has allowed us to tackle the challenges posed by COVID rather than let COVID dictate what happens to us and our co-op. We are all incredibly grateful for your support during these challenging times. Thank you.
Thanks, Lindsay and Doug. I would now like to welcome the Chair of our Audit and Risk Committee, Richard Youngs, who will provide the committee's report and introduce the Society's external auditor, EY.
Good evening. As Chair of the Audit and Risk Committee, I would like to provide an update on its activities during 2020. As members may be aware, one of the responsibilities of the committee is to approve the terms of engagement with the Society's external auditor and to put forward a recommendation to the board for onward approval by members for the appointment of our external auditor. As members will be aware from last year's annual members meeting, Ernst & Young, EY, were appointed as Society auditor for the year ended 23rd of January 2021. We are pleased to report that following the audit, an unqualified audit opinion has been provided, and I will shortly pass you over to Anna Besodi, the audit partner at EY, who will present the auditor's report. Later this evening, members will be asked to vote to approve the reappointment of EY to undertake the Society's next audit for the year ended the 22nd of January 2022. As a result of COVID-19 and resulting changes to the way in which audits are conducted, additional disclosures have been required for this year, primarily relating to going concern status. These are set out with the annual report. During the year, the committee has also reviewed internal audit reports from PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, who have been appointed as the Society's internal auditor. These audits were based on an annual audit plan agreed by the committee. The committee have also monitored the Society's IT strategy and cybersecurity arrangements, the latter through the use of the dashboard. You can find full details of the committee's work during the year on page 36 of the annual report. On behalf of the board, I would like to take the opportunity to thank PwC and EY for their work during the year. I will now ask Anap Sodhi of EY to present the auditor's report.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ernst & Young LLP's report on the group annual accounts, which is dated the 23rd of April 2021, is set out on pages 49 to 53 of the annual report. Our report contains a description of those assessed risks of material misstatement we identified, which had the greatest effect on the audit, an explanation of how we applied materiality in our audit, and an overview to the scope of our audit, including how that responded to the risk of material misstatement we identified. Our report sets out our responsibilities as independent auditor, which are established in the UK by statute, the Financial Reporting Council, and by our profession's ethical guidance. Our report includes confirmation that we conducted our audit in accordance with international standards of auditing in the UK and Ireland. Our audit involves obtaining evidence about the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements sufficient to give reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free from material misstatement, whether caused by fraud or error. This includes an assessment of whether the accounting policies are appropriate to the group circumstances and have been consistently applied and adequately disclosed, the reasonableness of significant accounting estimates made by the directors, and the overall presentation of the financial statements. In addition, we read all the financial and non-financial information in the annual report to identify material inconsistencies with the audited financial statements and to identify any information that is apparently materially incorrect based on or materially inconsistent with the knowledge acquired by us in the course of performing the audit. If we become aware of any apparent material misstatements or inconsistencies, we consider the implications for our report. Our report concludes that, in our opinion, give a true and fair view of the state of the Society's affairs as at the 23rd of January 2021 and of the Society's results for the 52-week period then ended. Have been properly prepared in accordance with the United Kingdom generally accepted accounting practice, and the financial statements have been prepared in accordance with the requirements of the Cooperative and Community Benefit Societies Act 2014. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard and Anup. I would now like to hand you over to the Chair of the Remuneration and Search Committee, Beverley Perkins, who will present the remuneration report. Over to you, Beverley.
Good evening, members. You can find the Remuneration and Search report on pages 34 and 35 of the annual report. I won't be reading this in full, but will rather concentrate on a few key areas of the committee's work this year. First, executive remuneration. We worked with our external advisors, Fit Remuneration Consultants, to complete a triennial review, benchmarking review of executive remuneration. That is the salary, benefits and pension contributions payable. This ensures that we're aware of best practice and also the trends and can take these into account when setting executive pay. In 2020, this resulted in recommendations being put to the board and approved by them for both salaries and also the leadership team allowance that is paid to members of the Joint Chief Executive. Members can find a full breakdown of executive remuneration on page 37 of the annual report. But please note, this table is for the period to the 23rd of January, and so does not fully refer to the review and the changes effective from the 1st of January. Executive appraisal. Here we are advised and supported by Make a Difference HR in undertaking a review of the performance of the executive team. and we will further review the process with the board and executive in the year to come. Gender pay gap reporting. As the largest independent retailer in the east of England with over 4,200 colleagues, it is essential to the society, and we are committed to reducing the mean pay gap between male and female pay. This requires a series of long-term initiatives to ensure real and lasting change. And to support the society with this aim, the committee reviews both gender pay gap data and also the activities that we are taking to address this. At any point, the current gender pay gap report is available to members on the Society's website. And so now to our 3 recommendations. First, directors' fees. In recent years, the board has recommended the use of the Average Weekly Earnings Index as compiled by the Office of National Statistics. However, in 2020, we noted that this measure had become inflated at 3.5%, and so instead the board proposed that we refer to the award made to co-op colleagues at our Wherstead Park office, i.e. 1.25%. This equates to £113 per annum, bringing the director fee for 2021-22 to £9,118. Second, a fund to enable directors' contribution outside of their core role. In 2020, members agreed that the board introduce a process and fund that would enable directors to undertake activities on behalf of the board that are over and additional to their core role, thereby contributing their skills and experience to benefit members and the society. The board is seeking approval that a sum of no more than £12,000 in total be set aside to enable any such payments in the financial year 2021-22. And finally, the remuneration report. As I said, the table is available on page 37 and sets out the salary, benefits and pension contributions paid to members of the Joint Chief Execs and the Society Secretary in 2020-21. I'd now like to take this opportunity to thank the committee, board, execs and colleagues for their contribution and support in an exceptional year. And I ask you, our members, to support both our recommendations and report. Thank you.
Thank you, Bev, for that report. We will come back to members later on in the meeting to vote on matters discussed in both the remuneration report and the audit report. We now move on to our Q&A session. I hope you have had the chance to raise any questions prior to the meeting or via the question function on your screen. We will aim to address as many questions as possible. However, if time does not permit this, we will collate the themes and provide a Q&A report on our website following the meeting. I will now pass you over to Jonathan, who will facilitate the questions.
Thank you, Frank. So we're now joined by our 4 Joint Chief Executive Officers who will be answering some of the questions that you've put to us before the meeting and also this evening. And the first question we've got here is from Hilary, and this is in terms of sustainability, so I think this is for Nick. Nick, this is what are the plans for eliminating vegetables? Oh, sorry, this is actually for Roger, not for Nick. My fault. Roger, what are your plans for eliminating vegetables packed in plastic bags?
We are committed to removing as much plastic packaging from our produce as possible. And in 2019, we increased the range of loose produce, and at the same time, we provided a reusable bag for customers to purchase, thus to eliminate as much plastic as possible. Unfortunately, we were thwarted by the pandemic, and customers' habits changed quite quickly as they were looking for pre-packed product, reverting as there was perceived contamination during the pandemic, and this has continued until now. We hope this will revert back once the pandemic has subsided. So we are committed, and the Society will continue to look for ways to reduce packaging. And I can advise that the cooperative movement in total for all its packaged goods, not just fresh produce, but to eliminate as much plastic as possible, and any plastic there is will be fully recyclable.
Thank you, Roger, and hopefully, Hilary, that's answered your question this evening. The next question is also for Roger and to do with the Shop End food store. So, Roger, David's asked, can the Colchester Shop End store staff be praised for very, very effective and safe control of queues, staff needs, and huge praise for going above and beyond during the pandemic?
We've praised all our staff for the way they've conducted themselves right across our family of businesses, but it's pleased to see that you've identified that store that's looked after you very well, and I'm more than pleased to go to them direct myself and pass on your good wishes. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger, and thank you for your comments there. Next question is also for Roger. And Roger, this question has come in. How does your pricing strategy compare with other major retailers?
We're very competitive in the market that we trade in, which is the convenience market. And the convenience sector is as competitive as the other sectors for the major multiples. And the Society, therefore, has a very strong promotional programme. And when you take all this into consideration, within the market that we do trade, I believe we are very competitive.
Thank you, Roger. The next question we've had in is from Pauline regarding the website, and this is for Neil, this question. Neil, Pauline's asking, are you planning on to increase your online presence in the next few years?
Thank you, Jonathan. Yeah, this year, you saw in Roger's update video, we launched the Snappy Shopper online solution. We've got a major overhaul that's ongoing on our website at the moment, and we think that the consumer trends moving towards more online buying for things like pre-planning funerals and things like that will increasingly go online. So I think the answer is very much yes over the next few years.
That's great news. Thanks for that, Neil. And it takes us on to a question for Doug on financial performance. No name given, but Doug, how does the financial performance of the East of England Co-op for the last year compare to other comparable UK retail cooperatives?
Yes, our results compare very favourably. As you've seen from our finance update, we're in a strong position. The major multiples and co-ops saw a big increase in significant year-on-year growth in food revenue, with the East of England Co-op recording one of the biggest increases. And funeral providers, they saw a decrease in the average price of funerals, given the limitations placed by government restrictions, and that's consistent with our funeral business. So overall, we've done very well compared to everybody else.
Thank you, Doug. And the next question is back over to you. So this question, Doug, aside from an extra week of pay, how have you supported staff throughout the pandemic? Some are on the front line and others are isolated at home.
Absolutely. What's really important to us is the safety and well-being of our colleagues, and that's our top priority. We've had confidential helplines to support staff. We're using a service called Grocery Aid. As you heard from Nick in his update, we've got a partnership with Suffolk Mine for the well-being. In addition to the extra week's pay, we gave £110 worth of vouchers in December, a further £50 in vouchers before the April bank holidays, and we've also doubled colleague discount to 20%. And for those isolated working at home, we sent them a happy box with some nice goodies as well.
Thank you, Doug. And the questions are coming in for you thick and fast this evening. So the next one, back to you, Doug, is, Doug, how much is now in the profit reserves of the Society that is from funerals yet to be conducted? And many millions, both debit and credit, have to be shown in the accounts, but the hidden liability for the funeral bonds appears to be ignored. Why is this?
Or funeral bonds. The income from funeral bonds invested is only received by the Society when the funeral is actually conducted. This investment income is sort of non-cash. The accounting standards changed back in 2016, over 5 years ago now, and we're not responsible for those accounting standards. And yes, under the old standards, the investment income was used to offset the cost of the funeral when the bond was redeemed. Now, we think we've got somewhere in between 15 and 20 million that's been recognised as profit earlier than we would have under the old accounting standards. But we do recognise both assets and liabilities for funeral bond,
And as detailed in note 5.1 of the annual report on page 71, we recognise liability of nearly £50 million in respect to funeral bonds.
Thank you, Doug. Next question we've had in from Tony and regarding community groups, and this is for Neil. Neil, Tony's question is, community groups have been closed during the lockdowns, but they're now beginning to meet again. Are we able to support the organisations in the post-COVID period?
Yes, the answer to that is very much so. We absolutely continued supporting many community groups during the lockdown. What springs to mind, food banks in particular, domestic abuse charities, food bank collections in store. We did a particular collection in August and collected over 5 tonnes of food to be distributed in the region through that period. And then for 2021, we'll be continuing with our community care fund and supporting health and well-being, food justice, funeral poverty and community action. And all groups will be able to see all details for applying for any funding from that fund on the website.
Thanks for that response, Neil. The next question we've got is actually for Nick. And Nick, this question is from Nicholas, who's asked, we've seen how the funeral business adapted. No, this isn't for Nick, this is for Roger again. Sorry, this is my fault tonight. So, Roger, the questions keep moving around because you're using the thumbs up icon. Roger, Nicholas has asked, we've seen how the funeral business has adapted in the last year to remote working. Will you still need all of these branches in the future?
Well, I see the future changing quite dramatically with online. I think the phrase is less bricks and more clicks. People want to have access 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year to services. And I see that the funeral business for arranging funerals will potentially be done from the comfort of somebody's home using a computer screen. There are those that will still want the personal touch. So the society is actively looking at how we support both those activities, whether in branch or from home. So I do see it being a mix now in the future.
Thank you, Roger. I'm going to try for a third time this evening, and I believe this question is actually for Nick. Okay, so this is definitely live. Nick, we've had a question here, no name given, but it's just saying it's good to hear that you've reduced your carbon footprint by 25%. When do we hope to achieve carbon neutral by?
Thanks, Jonathan, and great to have a question on this as well. Our environmental sustainability is a key part of our business strategy, and we've adopted 6 of the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals, including climate change. The bottom line is our aspiration is to be carbon neutral, net carbon neutral by 2030.
Thanks, Nick. Okay, the next question we've got is from, there's no name given, but it's the question here is for Doug, which is, Doug, can you talk us through the amount of government support that the Society's received and in what form it was provided? And what is the Society's position on keeping or paying this back?
Yes, we covered this a little bit in the finance update I provided. We welcome the decision of large supermarket chains to repay the business rates relief and support they received during the pandemic. We are not planning to retain the funding support we received. Although our food stores, funeral business and security business continue to trade, our travel, events and masonry businesses were forced to close in line with government guidelines. We've also spent significant amounts of money making sure we were COVID secure with PPE, screened, other bespoke measures to keep everybody safe. And we also diverted funds to support vital local services and good causes. And there's no doubt about it, the government rates relief and job retention scheme helped our co-op provide a good level of support to our members and customers, and we're extremely grateful for that. In terms of the annual report, it's very transparent about the role we play with government support, and it's mentioned on page 13 in the operating review, as well as pages 29 and 61, with page 61 including the numbers, and it cost us over £0.8 million overall. So yes, we are planning to keep the money.
Thank you for that response, Doug. The next question we have is from Martin, and this is for Roger. And Martin has asked Roger, self-service checkouts can be difficult for wheelchair users due to the height they're set at and available space.
Yeah, I fully appreciate that, Martin. But what we try to do or what we do, in fact, is that we ensure that the operated tills are still in use as well. So you can go to the operated tills to be served. You don't need to use the self-service checkouts. And I appreciate the way they're set out, but we make sure that there is always a service till available.
Thank you, Roger and Martin, for that question. The next question we have is for Neil, and this is from Brenda. And Neil, Brenda's asked, will the in-store banks for paying in divvy reopen, or will we always have to post to head office?
Thank you for the question, Brenda. Our 28 MSPs were closed throughout the pandemic and for last year's dividend. And based on the positive experience we had through that period, we've taken the decision not to reopen the MSPs on a permanent basis. We will be communicating with all members later this month as part of the dividend process to remind them of the process that we successfully introduced in 2020, and all details will also be on the website.
Thank you, Neil. We've got another question here from Nicholas, a different Nicholas this time, and this is for Doug. Doug, I've got a question here. In the present political climate, what steps are being taken by the Society to support your ethnic society colleagues?
Thanks, Nicholas. We're striving to be an even more inclusive organisation. We're working hard to engage across the spectrum of our colleagues and workforce and customers. We've just had an external audit done of where we are on our inclusion and diversity strategy, and we're looking to do even more and get a proper action plan together, and with some real tangible steps to make a real difference over the next 12 months.
Thank you, Doug. Next question from Philip is for Roger, and Roger, Philip's asked, he's pleased that the Society now has a delivery service. Could you clarify the position regarding dividend points on Snappy Shopper purchases?
Yes, we do provide dividend points on Snappy Shopper, but we are refining the delivery and improving the process for this as we move forward. As you can appreciate, when we launched Snappy Shopper on the 7th of December 2020, it was delivered within a 6-week program, and when you consider what we had to do to get it up and running, I believe my colleagues did a sterling job. So it's a bit archaic what we're currently using, but it will be improved over time.
Thanks for that, Roger. Next question is for Nick, and this is from Pauline. Nick, Pauline's asked, is very much looking forward to getting the new co-op at Chesterwell, in hopes that it will have an opticians, a chemist, and maybe a travel shop.
Yes, the new store at Chesterwell is a convenience store. It'll be one of our larger ones, and given the fact there's going to be 1,400 new homes built on that development by Mersey Homes, we do need to devote all of the floor space to serve the residents of those homes and the school, and it will of course include our award-winning Sourced Locally range as well.
Thank you for that, Nick. Next question we have in is for Roger, and it's from George. And Roger, George has asked, is the Society intending to eliminate having bags for life, such as Mid-County Society?
I'd like firstly to say that this society, the East of England Society, led the way with regard to reducing plastic in 2007, and on the cusp of 2008. We were the first major retailer to start charging for carrier bags, that's the single trip ones, and we saw a reduction of 85%. We also at the same time looked to improve the bag for life, and we've taken it one step further now. Our bags for life, which are double-sized vest carriers, are made from 100% recycled material and can be recycled. With that in mind, the Society has no plans to follow mid-counties. We believe there is a place for carrier bags, but as long as they are recyclable.
Thank you for that response, Roger. Well, that brings us to the end of the Q&A session, so I hope you found that really informative. And you've certainly been able to use the thumbs up icon this evening, because you've caught me out a couple of times there. So thanks for being engaged in this evening. Before I hand you back to Frank, I'd just like to say we're now going to move into a number of motions. And just to let you know, when the motions are put to you, you may need to minimise your viewing screen if you've currently got it set to maximum, so that you can see the poll wording. So with that, I'll now hand you back over to Frank.
Thank you for all those questions and on such a wide range of subjects. The directors do actually find it quite interesting and useful to know what's on your mind, so thank you for that. We now come to the board motions, and I can confirm that we did not receive any motions from members this year. The first item is for members to receive the annual report and accounts for the year ended 23rd of January 2021. We will open the poll now. You should see the options for, against and abstain on your screen. Please select your option and I will announce the results shortly. Please remember that the poll will only be open for 60 seconds and members who are not eligible to vote will not be able to see the poll. Great, I can confirm that the report and accounts has been received. We now move on to the remuneration report presented by Beverley Perkins. We will open the poll now. You should again see the options for, against and abstain on your screen. Please select your option and I will then announce the results. The poll will only be open for 60 seconds and members who are not eligible to vote will not be able to see it. Thank you. I can confirm that the remuneration report has been received. As referenced within Beverley's report, we now move on to the directors' fees for 2021-22. The board are recommending to members that the directors' fees for 2021-22 be increased by 1.25% to £9,118 per annum. We will open the poll now. And again, you should see the options for, against or abstain on your screen. Please select your options. The poll will be open for 60 seconds and then I will announce the result. Again, members not eligible to vote will not be able to see the poll. Thank you again. I can confirm that the directors' fees will be increased by 1.25% for 2021-22. Further to the resolution passed at last year's annual members' meeting for a new scheme, members are asked to approve a sum not exceeding £12,000 in total for 2021-22 to remunerate directors for activities undertaken on behalf of the society that fall outside their core duties. For example, participating in a working group. We will open the poll now. You should see the options for, against or abstain on your screen. Please select your choice. You have 60 seconds in which to do so, and then I will announce the results. Again, members who are not eligible to vote will not be able to see the poll. Great. We have confirmed that members have approved the continuation of the scheme with a £12,000 limit for next year. Thank you. We now move on to the approval of the reappointment of EY as the Society's external auditor for the year ending 22nd of January 2022. We will open the poll now. Again, you will see the options for, against or abstain on your screen. Please select your choice, and I will announce the results shortly. Thank you. I can confirm that EY will be reappointed for the forthcoming year. The next motion is the distribution of a dividend of £1,845,837, equivalent to 1.5% of qualifying spend on the value of members' purchases made from the Society during the year ended 23rd of January 2021. We're asking you to approve that. The poll will open now. You will see the usual options for, against or abstain on your screen. Please select your option, and in 60 seconds' time I will announce the result. As usual, members who are not eligible to vote will not see the poll. Thank you. I can confirm that you have ratified the distribution of the dividend. For our final motion, members are now asked to vote for the Society's continued affiliation to the Cooperative Party for the 12 months ended June 2022 at a subscription rate of £34,000. As a founder society of the Co-op Party, we have paid an annual subscription for more than 100 years. Part of our proud tradition of working to bring cooperative values into Parliament and our laws. Our society regularly meets with the Co-op Party to ensure we get political and legal support for things like protecting retail workers from crime and passing legislation to protect our cooperative values. So I hope you can continue to support this tradition by supporting this motion. We will open the poll now. You should see the options for, against or abstain on your screen, and you have 60 seconds to make your choice, after which I will announce the result. Those not eligible to vote will not be able to see the poll. Thank you once again. I can confirm that you have approved continued support for the Co-op Party. I'd now like to introduce a video by Joint Chief Executive Neil O'Keefe, providing an update on the Society's community work and how we have been able to support many great causes during this challenging time.
As Roger said earlier, we've made some significant changes to the way we work in recent months to face into and to stay ahead of the challenges presented by coronavirus. In the last year, in response to the pandemic, we set up the Community Cares Fund to provide much needed support to those local organisations helping those most in need in our community. The initial funds provided by our society were supplemented by you, our fantastic members, who generously donated dividends. As a result, the fund quickly grew to over £370,000. Since the fund launched, we've achieved many amazing things, such as supporting local food banks, helping young victims of domestic violence, and providing much needed information and well-being support for unpaid carers. In contrast to these larger donations, we've also been able to make over 100 donations to help community groups and charities adapt their services to meet ever-changing needs and increasing demands. The Community Cares Fund is the cornerstone of our COVID response. It's allowed us to be much more responsive and adaptable to local needs, ensuring money gets to those who need it most quickly and efficiently. The difference we've been able to make via the fund has been fantastic, and therefore, as a result, we've decided to keep it in place moving forward. In order to focus on the fund, we've now ceased operating our community token scheme in our food stores and the community giving scheme in our funeral branches. Going ahead, the majority of our funding will be channeled through the Community Cares Fund. We have, however, earmarked funds to allow us to continue to make smaller donations for things like raffle prizes and sponsorships. The Society is making a total of £200,000 available through the Community Cares Fund, which we will hope will be added to by our members, as it was in 2020. Once again, we'll ask you, our members, to donate some or all of your dividend to support worthy causes through the fund. Through the Community Cares Fund, we're looking to support the work of voluntary, community and social enterprise organisations addressing at least one of these key issues: community action, mental health and well-being, and food justice for all. Applications for the 21-22 grants can now be made via our website. Our funeral division is a key part of our business, and this year we have set up funeral support grants whereby those in need of financial support can get help with the cost of a funeral where it's beyond their means to pay. Our funeral colleagues will operate this fund and will liaise directly with those clients in greatest need. Since September 2020, our co-op has supported the call for an increase in the value of Healthy Start vouchers. Initially, we enhanced the value of the vouchers by £1.15 to £4.25 to meet the inflationary shortfall in the value of the vouchers. Following public pressure, including the campaign led by Marcus Rashford and the Child Food Poverty Task Force, the government has thankfully increased the value of Healthy Start vouchers to £4.25 in April. Whilst we welcome this much needed change from the government, we feel that we must go further to ensure families in our region gain access to healthy and nutritious food. That's why we're proud to continue to support topping up the new value of Healthy Start vouchers in our food stores from £4.25 to £5. To support our food bank collections in store, we introduced a new way for our customers to make a financial donation to their local food banks by introducing the Food Bank Donation Gift Card. Customers are able to purchase the cards for £5 with 100% of the value going to the food bank connected with that store. To date, we've sold 1,600 cards, raising £8,000 for our food banks. Now, we all know Christmas can be a challenging season for many, and last Christmas, we supported our communities by encouraging in-store donations to our food banks. We also made donations via vouchers to soup kitchens, domestic abuse refuges and night shelters. We continued our support for unpaid carers by donating store vouchers to those carer organisations that we supported earlier in the year. Many in our region faced increased pressures over the winter months, so with this in mind, we made donations to Citizens Advice Bureaus, Age UK Essex, Norfolk and Norwich, and local winter appeals. Despite the challenges of the last year, our engagement team have been continuing to get out and about, and when this has not been physically possible, they have organised online events and activities, helping bring people together and to celebrate our local heroes. Many people have found ways to help others and keep the community spirit alive. At the end of 2020, we wanted to show our appreciation to the local organisations for the hard work that they've been doing in our communities. After a fantastic response to our request for nominations, we randomly selected and delivered festive hampers to 32 key worker organisations throughout our region. We also asked people to nominate their community hero to win Christmas. Yet again, we received a fantastic number of nominations, demonstrating that our region's community spirit is alive and well. The team also spread some festive cheer by supporting over 50 Christmas-themed events. Moving on, we know that we're nothing without you, our members, and it's important for us to continually engage with you. So this year we introduced Your Co-op Live. It's a video magazine-style programme designed to cover topical stories featuring guests, films, cooking demonstrations and audience participation. Our first two programmes addressing food justice for all and well-being were a great success, and we're holding our third programme focusing on sourced locally produce in June. This past year has shown how vital it is to have vibrant, caring communities. Through the Community Cares Fund and our ongoing outreach and engagement programmes, we'll continue to support community groups, charities and organisations across our region. So we'd like to thank you for your continued support of our co-op, enabling us to continue to do amazing things.
Thank you for that report, Neil. And that brings us to the end of this year's annual members meeting. I would like to take the opportunity to thank all colleagues involved in arranging this evening's event and hope that you have enjoyed being able to participate virtually. Very shortly, you will receive an email from us asking for your feedback on tonight's event. It will only take a minute to complete, and we'd really appreciate your comments. Enjoy the rest of your evening, keep safe and take care. Good night.